Jane of Learning Bilingually, and welcome to my channel. In this video, I want to share a little bit more about how I organize certain charts to help keep my students on track of their assignments and how I organize my weekly lesson plans and what tools I utilize to keep me on track as well. So in another YouTube video that I have posted, how do I organize my virtual small groups, I shared about this chart that I utilize on Google Docs and how this helps keep my students on track of the assignments that they have every day, and also helps me keep track of the group that I have and the assignments that I have assigned for that group each week. So in the chart, as you can see, I have the week on top, then on the left-hand side over here, I have the subjects. And then each day I have denoted on the top of the chart and then which group I have that day. So I'm a dual language teacher, so I teach two groups of students, and therefore I like to make sure that I denote which group I have, so that keeps me on track and it keeps them on track. I also have this red kind of rectangle, which highlights the day that we are on. So this chart I do update daily. All I have to do is really just drag the rectangle over for the next day. And that way that group will be aware that it's that day and those are the assignments they have in their module. So I have each subject, like I said, on the left-hand side, and the activities that they will be completing during class, following certain lessons and things that we do whole group or in small group, and then their kind of independent activities that they will be doing. So this chart is a weekly chart, which means that I do add for every week, I add a chart. So this is the quarter 3, quarter 4 charts. So I already have the one from the week before, and then this one. Now, this is embedded into Canvas, which is our learning management system. And basically anything that I update on this Google Doc automatically updates on the Canvas page. So all I have to do really is update here on Google Docs, and it will look updated on my students' Canvas page when they refresh the page or once they go in the next day. It's a really easy tool. I embed it so that they can actually still see the previous weeks, but I obviously put the week that we are on as the first chart that they see. And this is what it looks like. So now I want to share kind of how I'm organizing my weekly lesson plans and activities. And this sheet that I use on Google Sheets, I then print out on Sundays, I hole punch, and I put in my binder, Lecciones y Recursos, which I'll share afterwards, to keep me on track of what I have to do each day with each group of students that I have. So on this sheet, as you can see, I utilize Google Sheets to kind of do my lesson plans for the week and keep me on track with the activities, assignments, and groups that I have each day. So down here, you can see I already have several weeks kind of the sheets already there. I'll just keep adding on for the quarter down there. So first I have the week, then I have the date, and under it I have the name of the group that I have. So we denote each group by either Minions, which is my partner's homeroom group, or Pandas is my homeroom group. That's how I denote it on the sheet. Then I have kind of what question writing prompt I'm giving in the morning, and then what specials we have, and then our lessons and activities. So usually we start with math afterwards, then some type of kind of math review, and then we go into like grammar or science right after before recess. Then we have recess, then it'll be writing. And these 2 dates we had an evaluation, a Spanish evaluation I had to give to the students, and then they'll work on their module, or small groups are reading and writing small groups. So this is kind of how I break down the week. I create this Excel sheet, and then what I've done is just kind of copied and pasted it to each week. And that way it's easier to kind of just plug in for each week what I have, what activities my students have, and so forth. So that's how that is done. Again, I can always print it out on Sunday and plug in and kind of revise as the week goes on. And this has been a lot easier for me than I used to actually type my lessons on a Word document, but this just seems easier when I have some things that are more repetitive, like my math lesson. Of course, the lesson is different each day, but I can just kind of copy and paste that into the day and just change the lesson number Or for example, like working in small groups, I can kind of just plug that in and then I'll have kind of a separate document with my small group activities or what have you, but at least this keeps me on track with the specific times and activities throughout the day and the week. So now that I've shared the kind of Google sheet that I utilize to kind of keep me on track with my weekly lesson plans and activities, I wanted to share where I put these resources and a new way that I'm using a really simple method that I'm using to keep me on track with all the things that I need to pull from every day to throw under the dot cam or to just show my students, whether it's virtually or in person. So I have this really simple binder that I threw a cover sheet on, Lecciones y Recursos, and that is what I'm using for the rest of the year to really keep me on track with what I am teaching every week or every kind of unit. So right now it's more organized. It's organized by subjects, but it's really the unit that I'm teaching or the chapter that I'm teaching. So when I first open the binder, the first thing that you will see is the Google sheet that I just explained. I print out the weekly Google sheet, as you can see, that's this week's, last week's. So I have it right there at the front and I can really see what activities I'm teaching each day to which group. Then, like I said, I have it organized by subjects. So the first subject I have here is Matemáticas, so my math. And then when I kind of go in the tab, the first thing I have is some pages that I took from our online text. So we use Go Math and we have it in Spanish and in English. So of course I pull all the Spanish activities. So these I pull for the whole chapter. At the beginning of the chapter, I pull the reteach and enrich pages. This is great for just extra examples for me to utilize either whole group, small group, one-on-one, whatever it may be. So I just have extra examples here. And it's also great because even if I'm on one of the last lessons or I'm on lesson like 7.5, but I want to keep reviewing 7.1 and 7.2 and 7.3 and the previous lessons, I can pull examples from here. And so I have that. And then right after I have the lessons from the book. And these are obviously the teacher guide with the answers. So we do get a physical book, but we only get it in English, the physical book. And the online materials has the teacher edition in Spanish. So I just pull and print the lessons with the answers in Spanish. It's just easier, less translating, and it's all there for me to refer to throughout the math lesson. And then at the end here, I also pull any other resources that I find useful for the topic and for the standard that we're working on in the chapter. So some of these are from my own TPT resources, but I have some more fraction things here because that's what we're talking about in chapter 7. So I just pull that, hole punch it, and again, this is something that I'll throw under the dot cam and use as an example or like a morning example to just review and work on different problems that relate to that standard. Then I have escritura. So first, I love looking for resources on Google. I found all these anchor charts for writing in Spanish already on Google. So I just kind of printed them out and threw them under a sheet protector. This is for my reference. I will never show these to my students, but I will use these and do my own notes in my notebook and then have them do their notes in their notebook. So I use these as more of a guide for myself for certain topics for writing and what I find important in terms of standards and what students should be taking notes of. Also, we've been working on opinion writing. So this is from one of my units, the rubric that I use to evaluate their essays. So something that I keep here right in front and something that I use as a reference and I show them too. This is how I'll be, grading your essays. So I have that as a reference. Any essays that we've been working on, I will have here just again as an extra reference. If the student can't see it on Canvas or something, I have the physical copy here that I can put under the dot cam. Anything that I'm using to teach will be here. Again, if I find some great anchor charts on Google, but most of the time they are in English, so I will print the chart out. And as you can see around it, or even on it, I will be translating it so I know what exactly are the vocabulary words and things that I want my students to take note of when I do the chart and then they do it in their own notebooks. Then I'll have any other thing that I'm using to help me with that standard. These are some old student sample essays that they did last year. So I love having them here and just really using them as a reference for my students this year. Again, now we're moving more to informative essays. So I have some examples here. This is from my units that I saw on TPT for informative writing. So anything that I know I'm gonna be pulling from and using, I actually print it and then just throw it in a sheet protector, because then I can just open the binder, throw the sheet protector and the activity under the doc can and use a dry erase marker. That way I don't have to print two of these for the two groups of students that I teach. So if I just throw it in a sheet protector and use dry erase markers, I can just erase it after one group and use again with the next group. That's why I have that all in here. So more activities and examples. That's all writing. Then I have my reading tab. Again, I found some reading anchor charts in Spanish. These the students will not see. It's for my own reference, but then I can see, oh, we're teaching, how to write a summary. So I'll kind of adapt this anchor chart and make my own, and then have the students take notes of it with me, whole group. So that's there. And then any other reading that I might be doing either in small group or whole group, I put it here. So our first kind of informative writing essays are on animals that are at risk. So I saw this reading of penguins at risk from a Scholastic News. So I printed it out and thought that would complement our writing lessons well. So I have that here, and again, in a sheet protector, keep it simple, not laminating anything, throw it on the dot cam, can make notes. I always provide a digital copy for the students, of course, of anything that I'm doing whole group, except if it's note taking, they're taking the notes, live with me. But anything else like this or reading that we might do, that I will also post it on Canvas, which is our learning management system, so that they have a digital copy of it as well. And then I have the science tab. So we use STEM scopes in our district. So I actually love, they have kind of like a explanation of all the standards for that unit in a kind of document. So I print it out and it is in Spanish, thankfully. And then I read it, I highlight kind of the major parts that really hit our standards and what I think is most important for the students to know. And that I create kind of a note taking sheet, and the students take notes while I take notes live. Vocabulary, of course, is included in there. So I print out the vocabulary for the units. And then anything else I find, again, with science, I found some great anchor charts on Google, but they're all in English, or most of the time. The really good ones that I find are in English. So I print them out in English, and then I just translate around it in Spanish. So I just adapt for my students. Again, as you can see here, translations all around. And then our next kind of phase of the moon, which is with Earth movements, but it's here. Any other information I find. My last tab is social studies. Right now it's empty because ever since we've been back from break, we've been doing science, but next week we are starting social studies. So that tab will have documents and things that I've already started to put together that I'm going to be used to teach and for having the students take notes and understanding what we are doing in social studies. As you can also see on the top and even sides, mostly on the top, there are a lot of sticky notes, because this just helps me right away see, okay, it's Monday, I got to pull to here, or it's Wednesday, I got to pull to here. So those are things, this is kind of like a live document binder that I'm putting in documents and papers, and I'm putting sticky notes for the day. And it really has helped me feel a lot better and more comfortable with the craziness that's going on at school in general, just, with virtual and hybrid and in-person and not and all that. It's just made me feel a lot more ready and just organized. So this is what I've been using and what I will continue to use this school year to keep me on track and make sure that my kiddos are getting all the information that they need to get in a very organized and succinct way. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you found it helpful. If you want a copy of the Google Sheets weekly planning sheet that I showed you in the video, you can email me at learningbilingually@gmail.com, learningbilingually@gmail.com, and I will send you a copy. Thank you for watching the video. Please don't forget to like the video and subscribe to my YouTube channel for more dual language bilingual education content. Adios.